Well, got a little bit of time today. I removed this rod right here, which this rod, the idea is this is actually a handle off of one of the vices that I got because I didn't have a handle that came with the drill press, but it's the same type. It fits perfect on this. Basically what you got is you get a handle that sits there like that for your elevation, and then you switch it over to this rod, which basically goes and locks the table through a, there must be a jib or something in there. But anyways, that's basically how that works. And I removed that rod because I've got the table fully elevated and it doesn't want to come off. So there's something, hold on a second. So there's something going on underneath here that's keeping this captive. I don't know what. But I noticed that this plate going across the top here is held to the bottom of the drill press table with looks like just 4 bolts. So I'm thinking I might be able to just unbolt that whole part right there from the table, pull the table off. Sorry for the lack of good lighting underneath here, but alright, so get a load of this. Just a couple of minutes of chiseling and look how much crud came out of the gears up there. So I was able to clean that up enough to get a good look at it, and let's see if I can put this light down here, get situated better. Hold on a second. Angle the camera up, and what we've got is got a bolt head right here that I can't get out with a socket. And part of the reason is it's partially obscured by this bevel gear and then this bevel gear. Now this bevel gear, that I think is a tapered pin right there. Because if I rotate that around 180 degrees, there's a hole. I got a feeling if I put a drift in there, I can probably drive out a tapered pin right there. And then this shaft, if I do that, I think this shaft right here will go out that way. And this gear will come off. But that doesn't really do much for me. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to concentrate on trying to get this bolt, there's 2 here, back here, those I can get with the socket. One of them was obscured by that other shaft that I already removed for the lockdown. So get those 2 out, get these 2 out, and then I think I can maybe take the whole table off and expose all of this and make it real easy to work on. Well, there's a shock. All 3 of those bolts, 3 out of the 4 of those bolts came out real easily. They weren't seized or anything. Unfortunately, the 4th bolt is on the back side of that gear, and there isn't enough room for me to get an open-end wrench on it. Also, this one that I did loosen, it's loosened all the way, but I can't drop it actually out of the hole because the gear's in the way. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and drive this pin out from the other side. I'm going to rotate it around, try and drive that pin out, get that gear and that shaft out of there. Hopefully that'll do something for me. Well, I was right about that tapered pin. I drove that pin out right there and the gear came right off after I tapped that shaft. Now, that shaft has got so much gunk and stuff layered on it that it's really hard to get it out. So once I clean that up, a lot of this is going to, when I put it back together, it's going to be nice and smooth. Well, I don't know. I think I'm going to take these bolts out here because I can't seem to... I can't reach that other bolt on that other side. The bevel gear is in the way. And that bevel gear, I don't see any pins or anything attaching it to that threaded shaft. So I'm not sure how that attaches to this threaded shaft. But, you know, I was hoping that it was just going to... the whole table would lift up off the top of this, but it's not budging. I try and lift up the table, it tries to lift the whole pedestal up, which is weird. So I'm thinking now, it's 3 bolts bolting that down pretty easily accessible. I'm thinking of just unbolting that, seeing if that'll come with it. Alright, I unbolted that and tapped on it with the hammer. It does move a little bit. I think right now it's because I got all the weight of the table on there, so I'm going to jack this up and see what the heck happens here. Well, again, it's still lifting the whole... it's lifting the whole pedestal up off the ground. I don't understand why this isn't coming off. Well, I just rotated that while putting a screwdriver up here and keeping that from screwing, from turning, and that lowered this screw down into here enough so I can actually pull this right out. So as I suspected right along, this does just sit on here by gravity. So the reason why this table is not coming up off of the pedestal has nothing to do with it being captive or attached to this in any way. I was completely wrong about that. That means that pretty much the whole idea of taking these bolts out of this stuff up here was completely unnecessary. All of that was unnecessary. I guess taking this gear, this bevel gear out of the way that was here, the one that goes like this, that gave me more clearance to work on things. But now I got to figure out why the heck this does not want to slide up past that point. I mean, could it just be that gummed up and dirty that it doesn't want to slide? I mean, that is pretty nasty. So what I'm thinking now is I'm going to lower this down and try and scrape those way areas where it's supposed to glide. I cleaned it up a little bit. A neighbor of mine, he works for a major rental company, and he said the guys in the shop swear by this stuff. This is Sipp 45NC penetrating lubricant with PTFE. So I decided to give it a shot. So I sprayed, after I scraped the ways there, I sprayed them with this lubricant. Let's see if that helps. I mean, when I was lowering this down, I was watching it, and it kind of like went, you know, even when I had slack in the chain, it was just going down real slow, and there was nothing underneath it to support it. So I just think it's that tight on there. Now, I'm wondering now whether or not there are some jib screws in there that are hidden underneath all that gunk that I should be dealing with. I'm gonna try this, but I'm not gonna get too crazy with it, because if it doesn't go easily, then I'm gonna... You see, it doesn't want to go up at all now. Went back down, doesn't want to go back up. Of course, it doesn't help also that I'm not pulling straight up. I mean, ideally, I should be pulling here, right in the middle. But I'm thinking that should still want to move. Oh, duh. Right there, I can see the line. This wedge part right here, it's like a jib, basically. It's a separate piece. There's the remnants of some kind of nasty looking rounded off bolt down here. But then, right here, I could feel a screw head. Ah, that bottom bolt actually, the head didn't look so great on it, but it came out real easily. And that led me to discover, unfortunately, that that jib was cracked. Right at where the other rod comes through, I think, to tighten it. So I think that might explain why that didn't seem like it was working correctly. Or maybe actually when it's screwed together, no, you can see those threads are all nasty. I wonder if that's, well, they might still have been grabbing onto the screw head. I don't know. Well, that screw at the top there, I tried to clean out the groove. It's full of paint and gunk and everything. It's really in there tight. But with this only small section of jib left, I wonder if I can just slide it up off now. Nope, it's still, that is creating a hell of a wedging action. So what's happening is my lifting force is because it's on that side of the table. It's twisting the bed and wedging it into this. So if I lift it from this screw, that might help, but then I'm still kind of like tilting it back like this way, which is going to cause some problems. So I think I really need to get that screw out. Well, I got that screw to loosen up. Basically, I just cleaned out that groove really well, and then turns out this new screwdriver that I just picked up It was like a perfect fit. The blade fit in there nice, and I got a good grip on it, and I really like this thing because it's got this ratcheting handle here. So, and you can see I just loosening that up is making this whole thing slip back down. So that's definitely the key to getting this off, is taking the whole jib off on this side. It's actually tilted now, so I gotta actually raise it up. I should have had that fully supported, because when that torqued, it bent this screw a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. So now I got those two pieces of that jib are completely off. These pieces were cast, and that's why they were, well, it's not why they broke, but I mean, I think that if that wasn't a cast piece, it probably would have bent instead of snapping. Alright, so now I've got the pedestal here clear of the base. So I think what I'll do is I'll wheel this out of the way, so I can just have some room to work around the base here.